I'm excited about this because I'm not getting any younger. So my retirement plan is like when I'm in my... Was that? Yeah, well, like when I'm in my 60s or 50s or whatever. I mean, I could totally rock stuff in my 50s, but like 60s and 70s, it's like not going to be that accessible in a harness up in a tree as much. So I'm thinking, you know, I could do like sessions with people, like when I get the tech all down, when I get the GoPro, whatever.
Right.
And then like, hey, I'll do an hour session and you'll have a video that you can refer to, and it would be kind of like a, I don't like the life coach thing necessarily, because I think the best life coach already lives within you. So like, I don't like this idea of, I need somebody else to tell me what to do.
But just hoping that person find it within themselves, really.
Yeah.
Explore themselves.
Yeah. So that would be this experience. Because the whole thing is real you adventures, so the adventures is the real you. So,
that
right?
makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also, like, you're really personable, so I think that it's easy for people to open up to you, you know, and laugh and whatever, figure out who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
Just to have, like, more of a joking atmosphere rather than, like,
yes.
taking themselves so seriously all the time.
Yeah. What's your 5-year plan?
Yeah. I mean, you've asked me that too, but but it took a while for the question to come out.
Yeah. Oh, man. I don't know where I'm going to be next year. I don't know. I think life's a bit... I mean, you can plan for sure, but there's a lot of unexpected things that happens, yeah. I think it's more of a participation kind of thing. Did I tell you the story how this thing kind of came to fruition?
The Real You Adventures? Or...
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Where was I? I was in Mount Hood Community College, and they had all these outdoor classes and stuff. It was fun. I think I told you this, right? Like rock climbing, mountaineering, all that stuff.
Okay.
And then there was this one class called Adventure Education. This was like when I was 21. And I was like, what is this class? What is Adventure Education? Ooh, it's kind of cool. Never seen that before, really.
I think we did have a similar conversation about this, because I did the outdoor leadership minor, and then we were talking about how your adventure education course is not necessarily just about doing the extreme activities. Is that? Yeah,
it's about the adventure of humans.
Right.
So I was like, that's way more interesting to me. So that's how this kind of all started a long time ago. But then actually podcasting wasn't until COVID. Yeah. Where did you do your outdoor thing?
The minor?
Yeah.
Pacific?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
With Outdoor Pursuits?
Yeah, that's like the building that it takes place in.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the minor was called Outdoor Leadership, and then Outdoor Pursuits is kind of a separate thing. Like, you could work for Outdoor Pursuits. So a lot of the same people I did the minor with were working there in the office.
Oh, cool.
You know, leading trips and teaching people and whatnot. It was fun. I didn't know I was going to do that until my sophomore year of college. And usually if you were going to do that course, they had it planned out that you had to take a course in this fall in order to take the next course in the spring. So by taking it a year later, I was like really rushed to get everything finished.
Okay. As far as the outdoor stuff?
Yeah, but it meant that I got to take like 2 or 3 classes a semester that involved the outdoors.
Oh, man.
Like going on trips every weekend and whatnot.
How did that dovetail with your, I was going to say actual classes.
Well, I was
as opposed to your PE all day.
Right, yeah. I was doing environmental studies on top of that, so a lot of it was just outdoors anyway.
Oh, nice.
The outdoor leadership was just more like the extremes of,
yeah,
I don't know, building snow caves and
snow caves
in them. Quincy huts.
Yeah, I did the snow cave thing. Middle of the night, there was a pod, like 4 people were sleeping in it, one they made, and they woke up and with the ceiling like a foot from their face because they didn't build it properly, and it was slowly like sinking in, and it was like a lot above them. Like, they would have died. Like,
That is so scary.
they quit the program.
I don't blame them for
Yeah.
an experience like that.
Yeah, it was pretty terrifying for them. That's the one thing I didn't like was the snow camping. Like, cold
Yeah.
hands. Oh, trying to put a tent together. Did I tell you I got those electric heated gloves?
No.
Yeah, I ordered them because snowboarding. I'm like, all right, class, it's gonna be awesome. All right, kids, it's gonna be. And then as soon as my hands get cold, I'm like, I hate my life. I don't want to be here. I quit.
I feel that.
It's just like instant, like tank
The rest of
empty.
your body gets to stay dry and warm like for the most of the day.
Yeah.
You have good gear, but
I've just worked in the winter with cold hands so many times. Like, I'm just like, all right, I put in my time. I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm putting a lot of research and money into these gloves that, like, they're thin, but they have like, they're battery powered, so you can recharge them, and they have like electric wires that go through them, and they heat up everything.
Is there a chance of like water getting into them and electricity
well,
in there hurting you?
Well, they're built for, like, snowboarding, skiing.
Yeah.
So they're designed for, being waterproof, or at least sealed. I'm sure the wires are all sealed up. But I'm like, I'm fronting the money for that. Like,
Yeah.
I'd pay, they're $100, but I'd pay like $1,000 never to have cold hands again. Yeah.
Yeah, and like little heating, I don't know, hand warmers. Those don't work very well.
Yeah, not really. I mean, they heat up part of your hand, but not the whole thing.
So you can turn the heat on and off whenever you want it.
Yeah, there's this little button. Yeah. So, it's going to be my Mambo Jambo. It's going to be a game changer.
Mambo Jambo. I like that.
Do you know Eric, April's husband?
I don't think I know either of those people.
Yeah. April used to work here at Tree to Tree, and then Eric works at Ridgewalker
Okay.
currently. It's like one of the managers. Me and him are buds, and he always says Mambo Jambo. So I stole that from him.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So how did you get interested in, like, because it sounds like you were very curious about the environment and outdoor activities
Right.
to make that your college focus.
Um,
How did that all evolve?
Well, I grew up in the gorge, right? So we would always go camping and hiking, and I just kind of spent a lot of my free time, my junior and senior year of high school. I would just go hiking every weekend, or when I got out of class early, or whatever, exploring as many trails as I could. So I think that was probably the like jump start of it. And then when I came to Pacific, I thought I was going to study psychology.
Oh,
And I was taking an environmental politics course just for fun,
yeah.
and then realized that was way more intriguing to me. So I changed my major to environmental policy. Yeah, and so then, I don't know, that focus within it. I took half policy courses, half environmental courses,
Okay.
which I find myself sometimes, leaning one way towards being in the outdoors, and then the other way leaning towards the policy, liking both of them.
So it was specifically the environmental politics class?
Like, changed my mind on it, yeah.
What
We were
specific?
focusing on logging, and specifically in Oregon, like the laws for loggers, why they're in place, and why we have to like replenish the forest and replant after they've logged them. And where all that money goes. So like there's a bunch of communities or like towns in Oregon that rely on logging money to fund their schools, all sorts of different things. And I hadn't realized all of that. My mom works for a logging company.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like, whoa,
It's a lot of variables.
open my brain up. And I thought always that logging was like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't really realize that there were positive aspects that came from it too.
So do you think there's like, what would the sweet spot be in your mind?
For logging?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's hard. I definitely don't want them to harvest all the old growth trees.
Yeah.
And old growth forests are like, we don't have trees that are as massive as they used to be, and that's pretty sad.
Yeah. Did they say at all like where the majority of the wood goes? To what resource? Like what source? Like what it's used for, I guess? Don't remember.
I don't remember. I would think that probably building.
Building, yeah. I was always curious, like when the internet came out, like how many less trees were needed for all that paper.
Right.
But I don't know. Again, I don't know what I don't know. I know I like trees.
Right. I have this weird dilemma too because I really like to read, and when the Kindle came out, my mom was like, "Do you want a Kindle? I'll buy it for you for Christmas." And I was like, "No," because I really love like turning the pages and holding the book in your hand. But that's like totally. It means that you have to chop down all those trees to make those books. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, like, how much of a tree makes a book? If you put like a book up to a tree, is it this much tree? Could this tree make 100 books?
I don't know.
Okay, how did you, bouncing the tree to tree, how did you start there?
At Tree to Tree?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like weird things that happened in order to get me here, kind of.
Yeah.
I was working at a farm raising chickens, and the owner of the farm, I was the only one that worked there, he was just having me do all these things for him, and then he got shut down by the government because he didn't have any legal thing that he was supposed to have in order to be functioning as a business and selling food products, which I didn't know about, so my job was kind of just like ripped out from underneath me.
Oh, yeah.
So I just ended up applying to a bunch of places, and a lot of them were in Portland. And I was looking at places that were mainly dealing with like being outside, focused more on plants if I could. So there was this job I really wanted that was, you would go around to all these plants in different office buildings and like figure out what plants should go there. So you're kind of like interior design with plants and then taking care of those plants.
Okay.
And I had an interview with them and an interview with you guys.
Oh.
And they didn't give me the job, and you guys did. And actually, like, you guys have never known this, but when I was told that I had the job here, I was like, okay, well, I'm also waiting to hear back from an interview for somebody else, so just give me a couple days and I'll give you an answer. And Mike was like, that's totally fine. And then when the other place told me no, I was so sad that I had to come work at Tree to Tree. Like, I was
because you were totally in the plants?
I thought, yeah, and I thought that Tree to Tree was just for like high school kids, and
oh, yeah.
I didn't think that it would like lead to anything more serious. Which it did. Which it did. And that, you know, like me being in this position I'm in now kind of happened in a weird way too. Oh, there's somebody on a bike. Are you going straight or to the...
I'm going straight.
Okay. Sorry.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you got the assistant park manager role.
I did.
You just took it. So me and Molly were like, so you can think about it and get back to us. You're like, I'll just take it now.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
You were like, yeah, no, taking it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I work here, and then I work at another farm, not the one that I was raising the chickens at, but the other one. And that one had been like an on and off relationship with them for a long time before I'd even started here. So I feel like there's some heartstrings attached to them. You know, I can't really leave them.
Yeah. No, you're similar to me in that I don't like to burn any bridges. Like, I like to have options with work as much as possible. I think I notice strongly that you have a very good work ethic. Do you think that's something like you felt like you always had, or was that something you learned?
Oh, I always had that.
Yeah. Since you can remember, you're just like...
Yeah. I mean, I think it's tied to not getting in trouble. I really hated getting in trouble for anything, like the littlest thing.
Yeah.
You know, they always say don't cry over spilled milk, but I would cry so hard if I even messed up a little bit.
Blessing is the curse, right? Like,
yeah.
With that comes success in this culture, because usually if you can work hard, you're going to go far, quote unquote, at least in the financial realm.
Right.
So.
And then is that success?
Yeah, again,
question,
how do you define success, right? Like, different cultures define it differently. Different families define it differently. How would you define it, Tabitha?
Walk away.
Welcome to team building.
That's hard, but I don't think that money is like really what I would choose as a successful life. I mean, right now I'm kind of in this mode where I just work as much as I can to make as much money as I can so I can pay off all my student loans.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't really have a dream of owning like a mansion or anything. I don't feel like I want to be a millionaire.
Yeah. But you have a house.
Yeah, I do have a house.
Awesome. That's super rare for somebody your age,
Yeah.
and especially in this time. It's a
we
huge
got
thing.
really lucky. My parents helped us make that move.
It's awesome. Sounds like you have a good support system with your family.
Yeah.
From the outside looking in, anyway.
Yeah, it's really supportive.
Ooh, can we jaunt down here? Totally. This looks
so inviting, all the
Yeah.
sunshine on it.
Exactly. Get some vitamin D. Vitamin D!
I forgot to tell you, but you were talking to me about vitamins.
Yeah.
I started taking them, and after that conversation, I went and bought gummy vitamins.
Yes, gummy
I've been
vitamins.
taking them every day now.
Yes, that's awesome. No, it's good to start now. It takes about a month, I've noticed, with supplements to like notice a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So if we start taking them now before the clouds come,
It'll help.
it'll really help, especially with vitamin D. I think it's like 4,000 IUs a day that are pretty like the sweet spot with it, which is
Right.
over the serving size. So you kind of want to look at how many you're getting. I don't know, just throwing it
Yeah.
out there. But also people say like, see a doctor, and because some people that would be too much, other people it's not enough. But I think 4,000 is a safe sweet spot from what I've learned so far.
The one I have is like 1,000 per little gummy.
Yeah.
So I take 2.
Yeah.
And then just
Like-
being outside for all the jobs that I have, you know, I think
Mhm.
that helps too. But you're right, when the clouds come.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was listening to Radiolab, and they were saying that vitamin D has shown to mitigate COVID, not keeping COVID from happening, but the effects.
Right.
And then same with copper.
You always wear that copper before even
Yeah, they tell you-
COVID or
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, because it has an extra electron.
Okay.
Copper does, and so it wants to like grab onto something else. And so when it does that, it does something. It helps with mitigating disease.
Yeah.
And like Radiolab's like, they should just build hospitals out of copper.
Copper.
All copper. And actually, when people started finding out about it, they started making copper clothing.
Whoa.
Yeah, like
Oh my gosh.
super expensive,
Yeah.
obviously. But you know, people just like, oh, this will help with COVID, and they'll just put a bunch of money into it. It's like, well, let's get some more research here. This is all very new. But interesting that I've been wearing copper, and I was taking vitamin D before.
I feel like copper is something that, I mean, way back in the day, people were wearing it too.
Oh yeah.
I think people have probably known for a long time that it's been beneficial in some way, but
Yeah.
then I don't know how far you want to follow that. It gets into the realm of like crystals and if those actually help or not. You know?
Mm-hmm. This trail looks like kind of fun. It's interesting. I'm always on that side when I run and do podcasts and stuff. I'm on this side,
Change it up.
changing it up.
One time I was here and there was just so many deer out in this little area.
Oh yeah.
There was like 7 or something.
Yeah, I'll really.
Hanging out.
It's cool when on my run. Sometimes I'll see a random animal, like different. Like one time I saw one elk
Wow.
just ran past me, and then one time I saw a massive snake just in the trail. Another time it's like a crane or a white bird that I don't recognize. Like what? What are you trying to tell me, nature? My morning runs here.
I'm not trying to tell you anything.
They're
I
just-
live here. They're just like, welcome to our world.
Yeah.
Probably, you know?
Probably not. Probably. Yeah, that's probably more
Sorry.
accurate. That's probably more accurate. They probably just live here. You're just in their house. That's funny. Yeah.
When you said a massive snake, and it reminded me of this story from when I was younger. And I had a friend over, and we were walking on these trails by my house, and there was this like red and black rope that was laying on the pathway, and I stepped on it, and it definitely was not a rope; it was a snake.
Oh, jeez.
Oh man, I just remember how freaked out I was. By
Did it
that.
try to bite you, or did it try to get away? Like,
It just slithered away.
yeah,
I think it was more scared probably than I was, but
yeah. So, social media.
oh,
Let's just bounce right to the solve. I want to hear solutions. What do you think? Because I believe strongly. I was talking with this guy. I'm like, it's not going away. So we need to focus on how to make it less toxic and more beneficial for humans in the world. And he said it's got to go away. He's not even thinking about putting any effort into making it beneficial.
Better.
He's just like stone cold, like it's got to go or be regulated or something. So I don't know. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think there's any way it's going away.
Yeah.
But I do think we can aim towards feeling empowered to put attention in it that is beneficial for others, and maybe a lot less attention into it, so beneficial for ourselves.
Right.
But yeah, I'm curious, like if you could give a spiel or thoughts on, or brainstorm, how do we make this like a positive thing?
It's so hard. I watched that Social Dilemma documentary that you recommended, and
Yeah, on Netflix.
I mean, even they're talking about how the things that they show you are intended to like get you fired up and angry, you know. And I feel like a lot more the last couple of years that's been kind of what Facebook is being evolved into. Like I used to go on there and it was just funny things. So like when I get memories that pop up, it's just like the stupidest thing that I would post.
Yeah.
But it wasn't negative, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like bad talking. I think that an algorithm shift or something on their part. But on our part, I guess, I mean, on my phone, I just turned on a timer so my app shuts down after a certain amount of time of using it. So I can't access it for the rest of the day.
Yeah. But you're at an age and an awareness where, like, you have self-control. Like,
right.
You know it's not beneficial, so you're putting safeguards in place for yourself. But I think the majority of people, it's like, you're just unconscious to it, like, zombied out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fasting from it this month, and I noticed, like, the first week, I'm like, I would unconsciously try to open up the app, and I'm like,
Same.
what?
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, yeah, I shut it off.
And I mean, maybe it's not just social media, maybe it's just like doing something or mindlessly, because now that I've taken social media off for this month, I'm like spending all that, not all of the spare time, but a lot of it just like on this little game that I have on my phone. Mm-hmm. So I'm playing that a lot more than I've ever played. As like a replacement for the social media, it feels like.
Well, yeah, because I was talking with my cousin's wife. She's a psychiatrist, psychology. She's talking about like the 4 quadrants, and in the middle is like a bullseye, and you want to aim for the bullseye for like a balanced life, a quality of life. To me, that's success, quality of life, right?
Yeah.
So the upper left is physical and emotional health, and then the upper right is work and education. And then bottom right is relationships. And then within each one too, like within relationships, you can have family, you have another caveats, you know, family, significant other, whatever, friends. And then the bottom left is leisure. So like social media could be a form of leisure, or you're playing your video game.
Right.
So I don't think there's anything completely wrong or bad or negative about having those leisure activities. I think it just matters of looking at all 4 quadrants and being like, how much time am I spending?
Are they equal?
Am I going towards the bullseye? Because I've seen my life where I go completely, 100% into a relationship, and then I forget the other 3.
Right.
Or completely workaholic in the other 3, So it's how do I inch back to the bullseye? And she says, the best way to get back to the bullseye is self-compassion. And I thought that was interesting. It's like just being kind to yourself. Like, okay.
Right.
Just kind of seeing it for what it is. Oh, I'm working way too much. And don't beat yourself up for that. But like, yeah. So I think that's healthy. A healthy kind of mind map.
I like that. I don't think I've heard that one.
Right?
Like the little 4 quadrants.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a model that's pretty popular in the psychology world. And it's one that she's studied, like, she knows so many models, obviously. She's brilliant. And that's her favorite one.
She knows a lot of models. Sorry.
Yeah, she finds them on social media.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, that's hilarious.
She's brilliant. She knows a lot of models.
She knows
sure.
That usually goes together. If you know a lot of
She's gotta go
models, you must be brilliant. Yeah, most of her followers on Instagram are models. No, she's got a head on her. I'm actually doing a podcast with her Saturday,
Nice.
and I've been like really looking forward to this one.
It's gonna be educational.
Yeah, because when she gets into it, man, she's like, because she works with the people that can't help them anymore, like other psychologists or counselors that
They're just like, we don't know what to do.
we don't know what to do. So I don't want to put a label or judgment on it, but she gets tough people in tough places. I think that's a diplomatic way of saying it, or a healthy way of saying it. And so she talks about, I hit the 4 quadrants with them, and she's also like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, how much sleep have you had?
Yeah.
Like, okay, go sleep and eat some food, and then we'll talk. Like, she's like, if you're coming in with like sleep deprived or your diet's off, you need to get that all figured out before we can actually talk about the next step.
Yeah.
So it's like the basics of the basics. And I was like, that's so true, because like when I had Crosby the first 2 years, we didn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, seriously, like, you just like going a few days without sleep you can handle, but like
For years.
weeks and months, like, you go insane. It's hard being a parent. Well, I mean, it depends on if your kid sleeps or not, but just that alone is huge. And I wish that we live closer to his grandparents, because there's so many times where it's like, here,
Take them,
take them, we need to sleep, and then we'll be back to you. And I think that's another thing in our culture that is not emphasized, is just the importance of grandparents and like the huge role they can play. Because we have to, like, when you have a kid in our culture, it's like, oh, and you have to work also. Oh, and also maybe you have to finish your college program or your master's or whatever. And you have to raise a kid. And you have to work. Like, what?
It's sort of impossible.
Yeah,
To do it all.
but there's that unspoken expectation. Mm-hmm. And then if you don't do it, then you
somehow become a failure.
Yeah, that we just make up in our head. I don't know. It's a little upside down. Okay. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
Well, we were talking about grandparents and how.
Oh yeah,
not
grandparents.
as, like, appreciated.
Get you on my right side.
Not as involved in their lives anymore. And I had this conversation with a friend, but like a long time ago. But there's this podcast I listen to. It's like a TED radio hour, so it just takes a bunch of different TED Talks. And in this country, they were finding that a lot of people had depression, and they didn't have enough psychologists and like therapists to help fix the problem and treat all these people. And so they started making these little benches around town and would train grandparents who were just like normally sitting at home or just kind of lonely themselves. They would train them on how to like help people who are going through depressive modes, like what questions to ask, and just like a very baseline way to approach depression. And so if you like wanted to talk, a grandma or a grandpa would just be hanging out on the bench, and then you could just come and sit on the bench and they would talk to you about it, and it like decreased the depression
No way.
that they have in their country.
That's so cool.
And it's like beneficial for both parties, right? Because grandparents are now getting like their wisdom is being asked for again.
As it should.
And
they know best.
Really
they
cool.
have like the most life experience. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. It's so creative. See, that's what needs to happen, is those like outside of the box thinking.
Right.
And just taking initiative on them.
And also like the stigma of living with your parents, and how that is like, it's got a like negative connotation around it, if we could get rid of that. Yeah.
Especially for single moms that have kids. Mm-hmm. Like, I have a lot of friends that are single moms, and the douche dad is being a douche. And they're like, they don't have an option with the affordable housing. It's not affordable housing, and so they just, by circumstance, their option is up to their parents, and then they feel really depressed, like they're not good enough or whatever. It's like no.
Because somehow we think of it as a backstep.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it could be so many positives, especially if you have a kid. For them to be around their grandparents.
Yeah, it's like
that's
huge.
huge.
It's winning. And then she's able to go to school now and work,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like she's pursuing her dreams to like become a teacher, like get her teaching certification, and
Right.
it's possible because she's living with her parents. So I don't know, it's weird. Let's hit the trail again because this wind will pick up on the thing. But once I get the GoPro, it won't be an issue. It's better. What, mushrooms? Oh yeah. Are you like a mushroom like guru?
No, I'm not.
I think
have been mushroom hunting, but only once.
yeah. I think mushrooms are so cool, but I'm not really interested in learning about them. I'm weird.
Like, appreciate them, right?
Yeah, I think they're so cool, but same with like, I love nature, but I didn't take the Latin class because I'm like, I don't really care about the Latin names for.
Yeah.
That was the one outdoor class it was optional. I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I don't know the scientific names of all the different plants. I just know them by their common name.
When we're on, have you ever been on a zip tour with me where I do that Latin joke?
I don't think so.
I'm like, all right, buddy. So I know Latin for, you know, the flora and fauna around us. Use big words like that to set it up, you know?
Yep.
So you see that tree right there? Those trees right there, that section of trees? Those are trees among us. Oh, and those bushes below us.
That's good.
And sometimes there's like this few seconds of like, oh.
Takes a little bit.
Yeah, that's my go-to. If you want to bring levity to the
I like that.
to the group, it's good to like joke around, like definitely during the harness time when they first get there, because people are nervous, right? And then and then definitely before we go up the ladder or on the bridge, just to like, because when you laugh or you're in joke mode,
Like makes people calm down.
Yeah, because I actually did some research on this. It takes your entire brain to process a joke and laugh.
Wow.
Yeah. Because
so it takes all of your brain that's focusing on worrying and fear.
Yep. So when you're in fear mode, you're in your lower brain, your limbic system. So you're only in your fight, flight, or freeze mode, and so you're in your animal instinct mode, which is important to have to keep us safe, right?
Right.
It's a necessary thing. But when it's perceived risk versus real risk, then there's no need to be in your limbic system. So when these people come to tree, or if you're in a job interview or going on a date or whatever, we have all these perceived risks, like if I fail or whatever, I could die. And it's like, so your limbic system kicks in, it tries to protect you. It's like, you're not gonna die. Your limbic system is designed to keep you alive, but we use it in situations where you're not gonna die. So that's the thing with perceived risk versus real risk. And so if they're in a perceived risk situation, then it's our job as like guides or facilitators to help them realize this is perceived risk. It's not real.
Right.
You don't need to be in your limbic system. And so through laughter, when you have a premise of a joke and they know it's like, oh, they're telling a joke, they have to get into their frontal cortex to process the premise. And they're like, oh, okay, I have to think about the setup here. And then you deliver the punchline, and then a different part of the brain, the problem-solving part of the brain kicks in. I forget what lobe that is. Has to put the premise and the punchline together. So that takes like the left and right hemispheres kind of have it working together. And then comes the laughter, and the laughter is activated by the cerebellum, which is this part of the brain back here, and that enacts your whole body to move. So your whole body and brain come alive when you like have a genuine laugh. And it totally takes, you can't be afraid and laugh at the same, like have a genuine laugh at the same time. Some people have nervous laughter because they're trying to get out of their, so there's a lot of power with making people laugh. That's people don't even think about. But it's actually an evolutionary trait. So like a lot of leaders or CEOs or chiefs, back in the day, they were known to be able to lighten the mood and make people feel safe through joking around. Isn't that interesting?
That is very cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's why smiling is a form of showing trust and making people feel safe. That's why we like it when people smile on an evolutionary biological premise. Yeah. There's like science behind it. Isn't that crazy?
It's very cool.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll get leaders that are kind of stoic, and they'll be like, "Oh, that kind of hit me to the core. I need to be a little more
smiley and
jokey around with my staff."
Yeah,
I probably scare them a lot.
Glad I could teach you something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. What were we talking about? Before all that, the brain's so cool. Brain is a supercomputer that can work against us or for
Totally,
us.
Yeah. Both ways.
Yeah, both ways. It's interesting you say at the beginning that I'm personable. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
It's interesting because, like, I feel like, at least I'll speak for myself, like, I don't see what other people see in me, in myself. And so, like, people have said that before, like, even family members. I'm like, really? I don't feel, yeah, I'm me, right? But I guess I have that thing. And I think that's a good thing for each person to have the thing that they don't know they have, that other people see, because then your ego can't attach to it.
Right.
I can't take pride in it because it's not something
I
don't feel like it, and I don't have to try for it. Mm-hmm. It's nothing I have to prove. It's just a thing I have, I guess, born with.
I think you being so personable is just like, you're very curious. You know?
Yeah.
So you can have a conversation about literally anything, which makes it so easy to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know, tell me about it. Oh, I'm so excited now. Like,
yeah, I want to know all the variables. I remember having that sense. I remember when I was 5 years old, I was like walking by myself, and I remember maybe I became self-aware, but I just remember this overwhelming feeling like, where am I? What is this planet? Like, just very, like I was an alien that landed, like,
all of a sudden,
like, what is this place? Like, and wanting to know everything, like, yeah, like, what's going on here? And it's taken me down some pretty interesting roads. I think the most fascinating for me is human behavior, like motives, like what makes people do what and why. In anything, like, why are people violent towards each other? Why that? And then why are people motivated to help? And why are some people really into the environment and others are really into whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to talk about politics, but I mean, there's a classic example, like, why are some people drawn towards, whatever end of any political spectrum and others not? And it's just very fascinating to me. So
it's just so, I don't know, so intense. There's no answer for that, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can make like a little scenario and be able to decide what that person is going to be like.
Yeah, it's kind of, and you hear about family members, like kids raised in the same town, same parents, but completely different.
Right.
So, like, what's that? It's almost like when I took the philosophy of science in college. He was talking about how, the cutting edge scientists, the top scientists in the field, especially astrophysicists, they're like, the more we know, the more we realize we don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's true with humans too.
This is very noisy, huh?
Yeah, let's go this way. Yeah, and like, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's kind of what intrigues me, is more of the inner space of people. There's like outer space, and then there's inner space. And to me, it's like, it's all space. Like, I always have this, my anecdote, like, oh man, I want to go into outer space. And I'm like, you're in space.
Yeah, right.
We're on a giant spaceship flying around the sun.
That's true.
We're in the cosmos. We are the cosmos. No, I want to go out there in space. You're in space right now. This is you're on a very cool planet in
which you
the universe.
Even explored the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting. My son's like, what do you want to do when you get older? And he's like, I want to explore the ocean, because we have more maps of the moon than we do of our own ocean. And I'm like, yeah, there's so much.
Freaky to think
You don't
about.
like the ocean?
No.
Did I find your fear?
I mean, I swim in the ocean and I'll play in it, but it's scary.
Yeah, I love the
Very
ocean.
scary.
It is scary. My thing is great white sharks. Like, no thank you. I'll swim with anything. I'll swim with a whale, like a whale shark. I don't care. But like
Yeah.
great whites, if I know there's great whites, I'm like,
No thanks.
nope, nope.
When I was in college, I went on this trip to Belize with a class that I was taking, and we were studying the coral reefs and all the different like organisms and things that are living out there. And one of the things that we got to do was, well, we were snorkeling like every day in order to study that.
Oh, cool. That's
Was,
awesome.
it was very cool.
Sign me up.
So
I'll go into college debt for that.
one of the things we got to do is swim with all these nurse sharks, and they had like a bucket full of like conch or something that they would throw out in the ocean so all the sharks would come, and then they'd be like, okay, now jump in.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
You know what? I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Not with the class, but I was on Key Cocker. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had the exact same feeling. Like, you see this massive shark, and they're like, jump in, and you're like,
are you sure?
okay. Like, talk about treetop plunge.
Yes.
Like, you're just jumping in there, and it was so cool. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
We also, when we were there, we went on a night snorkel so that we could see the bioluminescence and different animals come out at night, right?
Yeah.
So you could see all of them.
Bioluminescence. Hey, I pulled it off. It's a hard word to pronounce.
I had a panic attack in the water and had to go back to the boat.
Well, yeah, night. Yeah, because
It was very freaky.
Oh man, I think I would love that. Snorkeling is like my jam.
Really?
Oh yeah, when I'm in the tropics, I make it a thing to go in the water every day. Even if it's just for 10 minutes. Like, we're in the tropics. Like,
yeah. How can you not, right? It's warm and...
Yeah, and it's like, this is the thing that you can't find anywhere else. Yeah, I love snorkeling. I did scuba diving and snorkeling, and I realized I like snorkeling better.
Why?
Where
are we even going?
I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's, yeah. I was going to say, I think if I was lost in the wilderness, I think we would be a pretty good team.
You and I?
Yeah, I'm not nervous about it. Just with our experience combined, like, I think we would do all right. I mean, we worked pretty well together on the build team. I think we could handle
a little bit of outdoors.
Yeah, I think we could handle that. No, it's true. I think we have good chemistry and work. So that's
Yeah.
I want to thank you for that, because that's not always the case.
No, it is not.
No, it's not. And you can't really like force it. It just is or it isn't. Especially with build, like, man, some people just don't engage. They don't get it. But you're like, next thing, have the tool ready, or no, you can have foresight. Like, it's so helpful. So, thank you. Yeah, it's true.
I did it all just for you, Jason.
Well, and the check.
That helps, yeah. Wow.
I'm okay going this way if you are. This is kind of cool. I'm liking this. This is like a new adventure. And you can't really do this when the water's high.
No.
Because usually it's way up here, yeah. It's funny, I was actually, when this was higher, I paddleboarded with Becca.
Down this?
Right up here in a podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we turned around like right here. And somebody was trying to kayak back here behind us. We're like, oh, you should probably turn around. Anyway, we went on a lot of rabbit trails there. What were we talking about? Things and stuff?
Snorkeling? You like snorkeling better than
Oh yeah, just because
scuba diving?
it's less gear, it's less of a production. You just put on the things and jump in the water.
Yeah.
And you can be in there as long as you want, as opposed to scuba diving, it's like limited amount of time, a lot of money. But you do see different things when you scuba dive. I will say, I don't regret my scuba diving. I had some pretty cool experiences, like going through a cave and having your breath control your actual movement.
Oh my God.
Like, you have to breathe out to go down through a thing, and you have to breathe up. Or to breathe in to go
up.
to go up, and you have to. So it's like your brain. You have to really think. It's like a puzzle. That's really cool. Like you never. That's the only situation where your breath controls your movement of your body. It's a really interesting experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you have to be so calm in order
Yeah.
to do that.
You have to, because if you panic, you you'll keep breathing in, you hit the ceiling. Yeah, you have
I
to.
would do that.
You have to really have self-control. Yeah, so I think we're similar in that we are our own worst critic. Do you think that's pretty accurate?
I think that's accurate, yeah.
Why do we do that, Tabitha? Do you think it's healthy to a point, or? Like, what's been your journey with that?
I mean, I think it's healthy to a point, yeah. I don't take criticism very well, so if I can figure out the thing before somebody else has to tell me, then, like, that's beneficial for me.
Yeah. So in a weird way, that dislike of criticism has propelled you to, like, solve problems on your own, sounds like, right?
Yeah. So I don't have to be told I'm doing something wrong or that I messed it up.
Yeah. That's one thing in this industry that has helped me, because I kind of grew up very solo, independent. Like, I'd come home, go play in the forest on my own, totally happy. My mom would actually be like, let me skip school if I just wanted to stay home and play in the woods.
Wow.
Because we lived on like 4 acres with like 20 acres of nothing behind it.
Oh, cool.
Just woods and streams. So I would do this, like,
Yeah.
on my own, totally happy. You know, sometimes I take my friends, but majority of my time was out in the woods. That's cool, but growing up I didn't get a lot of experiences of feedback of like, hey, you're doing this wrong, you need to do it this way. So I too have had to learn how to take criticism, not personally, you know,
Yeah.
but realize, oh, I have to do it this way it's not about me being right or wrong or good or bad. It's about, this is just the way to do it for the benefit of all. And the industry of the challenge course world, I've had to take criticism and learn from it, because it's life or death.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have a choice.
You don't mess around with that.
Yeah, so it's been actually really healthy for me. But you grew up with like pretty healthy environment, it sounds like. Yeah? Yeah, yes and no?
I mean,
Nobody's life's perfect.
yeah.
I grew up with a lot of things too, like only child for my mom, but I have a half brother, half sister, and then I have 4 step brothers and sisters, and I'm right in the middle. So I'm like an only child during the school year, and then in the summers it was like family.
Everyone's there.
Yeah. Feel like we have to find our way
Back.
back, yeah. Well, like I said,
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with, I have a sister.
mm-hmm.
She's 2 years younger than me, but when my parents, they were never divorced or anything, but when I was younger, there was a lot of arguing and
With your
alcohol problems, you know, in the
Oh.
family, and that like made it really hard.
Yeah, that'll throw a wrench in the works. Excessive alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of support, like you were saying. Like, it's not like they didn't care for me, or
Yeah.
I got to do a lot of things, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
for a lot of people, like on the outside, it looked like we were just so great.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, life's me being curious. Life definitely has got its hard times. But then I think too, like, it's just a very short wisp. Like, we don't have to get into spirituality. Excuse me.
You right?
I'm not crying or anything. I got something stuck in my throat. We don't have to get into spirituality, but you don't want to. But I lean towards there's more. like the journey continues. So I'm kind of like, we got eternity to like explore, adventure, learn, grow. And this little life is just a little, it's like kindergarten.
Blip in it, yeah.
It's kindergarten. We're like, it's messy, really messy. It's like, yeah, that's why it can seem very difficult. Yeah, I mean, even like me outside of it, just looking at the world, if I wasn't in it, it's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome too, but there's a lot of things that could be way better.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
mean,
aim.
believing that there's something afterwards makes it, I feel like that's beneficial to you because you can not worry so much about failure or, I don't know, you don't have to be scared about death if you believe that there's something afterwards. And
Yeah. Well, and I've heard that debate too. Like, some people find more peace in that there is nothing afterwards.
yeah.
And so I guess it all depends on one's journey.
They're like, this life was hell, I don't want to live another one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's where, you know, if you study the sages of the ages, as my dad says, like the wise teachers that have gone before us, big thing is, yeah, they seem to have found a way to mitigate, not get rid of suffering, fear, anxiety, depression, but they've found ways to navigate it.
Yeah.
And kind of have a peace that is more consistent than not.
Right.
And I like that. So, however that can come about in my life, that's why I run so much. It's like, that's my...
You find, like, peace
Yeah.
in that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time. Yep.
It helps, like, I mean, when I would run, it would help clear my head a lot.
Yeah.
Or even, I actually wrote a paper in college about being outside and how doing anything outside is beneficial to, like, calming you down. The
Yeah.
only evidence that I had was my own personal experience, but I was just like, I swear, if you go outside and go on a hike or go on a run or ride your bike, you're going to come back home and be like, what was I so mad about?
Yeah. No, it's true. Puts things in perspective. Like, even the first 5 minutes of my run, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I feel better. Do you have, because you're not running so much now, right?
No.
Do you have like a thing, a go-to?
That I do?
Yeah, when things get like crazy.
No. I mean, I think I cry.
Just release it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calling my mom, I call my mom about every little problem I have. She's probably like, my goodness, you're an adult.
Yeah.
Figure it out. But, I mean, it's so comforting.
Yeah. As a 40-year-old, I'll say, yeah, you get more mature, but we're always kids. We're fragile humans, but growth is happening.
I make a lot of lists too. I feel like I'm pretty organized.
That helps you out, just get organized.
Like if I can write out, I journal. That's probably what I do. Because I cry first and then I journal.
I've heard about crying that there's toxins in tears, and so when you cry, you're actually releasing physical toxins as well as emotional.
Wow.
So it's actually, yeah, keep doing it.
I can't stop, so I don't have any control over when I cry.
Yeah, if it needs to be released, I mean, that's healthy, I think. I find it's more anger that I have to release. Mm-hmm. And so when I run in the forest, I can release it out here in the woods, and it can absorb it, and nobody gets hurt. That's very healthy for me to do. Because I think I haven't given myself enough credit to realize how much anger I need to give myself time to release. Like, you know how everybody has their thing? Maybe 1, 2, or 3. If yours is like, you can't control, like, and maybe doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? But my thing is, I get so angry I don't even know I'm angry. And like, I'm like, what's wrong?
Yeah,
I don't even know what I'm angry about.
I'm irritable, and I feel like we're the
Yeah.
same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Not alone.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's like, and I'm like, why am I so And then I get mad at myself
Yeah.
for being mad and not knowing why I'm mad. So I'm like, I just gotta run. Just gotta run this out.
Right. And it, like, clears your head of that.
Yeah. And it's so silly, too, when I realize what I'm angry about. I'm like, oh.
It's not that big of a deal.
Not that big.
Yep.
I think it's very ego-related, and why it's important to disassociate from our egos, not deny them, because they're always going to be there, but to just like the brain, see it as a tool, but not who you are. Because if you see the ego as who you are, then you're at the whim of the world.
Yeah.
What people do or don't do or say or don't say, or in relationships and work and whatever. But if you can kind of like, oh, that's my ego, then you're free. I find.
Doesn't define you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a Halloween costume, I say. Like,
It's
treat it like
hard
it is hard.
to separate yourself from it.
Well, that's the common theme I've noticed with wisdom traditions is the ego, like self-control with the ego, and like kind of disassociating it, almost dying to it, releasing it, but also accepting it. What's cool about it is whether we like it or not, I think, could be wrong, but it's almost not a choice to eventually surrender our egos, because it gets so painful the deeper we're associated with them. Like the pain of being associated with your ego will actually release you, because you just can't handle it anymore.
She's like, I have to let it go.
You have, yeah. I'm sure you.
To make it more bearable to like live your life as you want to.
Yeah.
Which is probably like older people, you know.
Yeah, it's a series of like many deaths as you get older.
Yeah.
Until you're like, oh.
That doesn't matter anymore.
That's not. Yeah. Yeah, but it's like when we're kids, kids are free, and then we hit a certain age where it's like, oh, I need to be this because of this to survive, and then we start identifying with ego that's only really supposed to be used to help us navigate and function, which I wish they would teach. Like, wouldn't that be cool?
If we wouldn't get into school, like how much they should teach.
Oh man, how come there's no classes on relationships?
Yeah, right. Oh, boy.
Like just basic relationship 101.
Probably just because there's so many different opinions. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got like 2 more minutes. Is there any other closing thoughts? This has been fun.
This has been fun. This is way easier than I thought it was gonna be. I was all stressed out. So much pressure.
Yeah, this has been my new like fun thing to do. Like, it used to be dancing, but now it's like.
That's nice.
Yeah, right?
To like talk to somebody, like your friend, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just to have a chat.
Yeah, and then what's really cool is you listen to it later, and you can listen to it whenever you want. It's like a portal back to that experience, and you're like, oh.
With the video too, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, and it actually has got me out of funks. You know, like when you know how we get into a funk, and it's like, oh, listen to that thing, and it's like, oh yeah, it like brings you back. So.
Oh, I have a thing of something to get you out of a funk. Is me and my friends, we made a music video to The Real Slim Shady.
Yes.
And let me tell you, that's some good stuff.
Music video to The Real Slim Shady.
If you need something to get you out of a funk, that's...
Is it on YouTube?
It is, but it's private.
Yes.
I could send you the link.
Yes, I would love to see that. Cool. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
This is The Real Slim Shadys signing off.